They all start, happily for us. How on earth are Lucerne supposed to cope with them this evening? We'll linger on that point in a moment, having looked at both the sides in full. The Brazil team, you'll notice, wears shirt numbers 1 to 11. Those are their squad numbers for the World Cup as well. So this is Carlos Alberto Pereira's starting 11 for the World Cup opener against Croatia, just as he said it would be 6 weeks ago. And their opponents tonight, there won't be too many familiar names in this lineup. Lucerne won the Swiss equivalent of the Championship this season, the Swiss Challenge League, and they'll play in the Super League next season. They're supplemented tonight by a couple of guests. Remo Meyer, number 31 at centre-back, is from second division 1860 Munich in Germany. And the other ringer, if you like, is Permin Schwegler, number 32 in central midfield, who is a Swiss star of the future. He's on standby for their World Cup squad should they suffer any more injuries, and he has just signed a lucrative contract in the German Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen. So those are the players who will entertain us, and here they come out onto the playing surface at St Jakob Park in Basel. 33,000 tickets available for this game, and although you will see 1 or 2 empty seats around the stadium, it's not actually sold to capacity, but all the tickets that were available were sold within 2 hours of going on sale. Such is the attraction of seeing the favourites for the 2006 World Cup in action. Stay with us for kickoff.
This programme is sponsored by 888.com. What's your game?
Many vital products depend on contributions from the leading chemical company. Invisible contribution. Visible success. BASF, the chemical company.
Whey protein, now only $9.99. That's 54% off. You really can't afford to miss the half-price sale now at Holland & Barrett.
Reassuringly pure Highland Spring.
Gamer's Original Cider has a taste that's deeply satisfying, totally rewarding and seriously enjoyable. Gamer's, as good as it gets.
The new 7-seat Ford S-Max.
This programme is sponsored by 888.com. What's your game?
Kick-off just moments away here at St Jakob Park in Basel. Brazil against a Lucerne Select 11, Brazil's penultimate game as they build up for the 2006 World Cup finals in Germany. We've had the anthems, the rather chaotic Brazilian anthem, one of the most evocative sounds before any football match, was greeted with cheers by the locals here, who are simply delighted to have Brazil in their midst. Their training camp is 30-odd miles from here in a little village called Vegas. Population 4,000 normally. At the moment, 5 times that number of people are shoehorned into the village on the shores of Lake Lucerne to see Brazil go through their pre-World Cup paces. They've even been staging competitions to win the right to stay in Ronaldo's hotel room the night after he's checked out. So that's the degree of enthusiasm that attaches itself to Brazil. There are one or two suggestions, Jim, as well, that he's carrying a bit of weight coming into this competition.
Well, I mean, that's been levelled at him in the past, and he does look, I must admit, just a little over the norm. But as I said to you earlier, John, I think once he's in this company again and gets a feel for the whole Brazilian thing, then I'm sure he'll come into his own.
There's Claudio Cachetta, the biggest night of his career. 5 red cards in 15 Swiss League games this season for the 35-year-old, but it's not a night for red cards surely tonight. It's a night for important routines to be put into practice by the Brazilians, and for Lucerne to try and hold their heads up high in front of the biggest crowd ever to watch a match in their 105-year history. Away we go in Basel, with Brazil playing from right to left in this first half. They always tend to go through low-key warm-up matches prior to World Cups. They've already played the United Arab Emirates, and they won 1-0 in Russia nearly 3 months ago. But this and a game against New Zealand, which you can also see live here on ITV4 on Sunday, are it as far as it goes for fine-tuning. And there's Cafu, who's been named as skipper for this, like the last World Cup. 144 caps to his name. Roberto Carlos. Back from Ronaldinho. We did pose that question a little earlier, Jim, and never really got the chance to answer it. How on earth are the part-timers of Lucerne and their guests supposed to cope with the fantastic four for a start: Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Adriano and Kaká?
In short, they won't. I think they're up against it. I mean, look, for these players, it's a wonderfully prestigious occasion. You know, an occasion they'll remember for the rest of their lives. I suppose some of them, particularly the younger lads, will want to put their talents in the shop window. A good performance against Brazil, and you'd never know what it can do to their careers. But I think it's just a night for them to enjoy.
There are also a lot of them playing for contracts. With the elevation to the Swiss Super League, they've been in the lower tier for the last 4 years. In fact, the man that brought them up, Robert van Eck, their Dutch coach, has parted company with them since the end of the Swiss domestic season a couple of weeks ago. Couldn't agree a more lucrative new contract for the higher level. And Brazil won't want to see too many challenges like that on their stars.
Well, I just wonder if this Lucerne 11 has been briefed accordingly. You know, there's no need to put a foot in like that, and Lambert was just a little bit late on Ronaldinho.
Either that or they've been paid off by Croatia, Australia and Japan in that order.
That's a possibility too, yeah.
These are Brazil's opponents in the World Cup, their first game in Berlin on the 13th of June against Croatia. And then perhaps the most attractive of their group games against Australia in Munich. Sunday tea time, the 18th, one of many live games you can see on ITV1 over the next 6 weeks.
In terms of their preparation, I mean, some might criticise the fact that they play lesser opposition, but they just get a feel for each other again, don't they? You know, the little link-ups, the little partnerships, and then they can step it up against more serious opposition, which of course will be New Zealand this coming Sunday.
For previous World Cups, they've played the likes of Andorra, so New Zealand a relatively big opposition. Brazil's fans are here in force as well. They've actually had to sell tickets for their training sessions. Capacity at the training ground in Vegas is 3,500, and they could have sold 20,000 for each of the training practices. And it may be Basel, but it sounds like Rio already. Ronaldinho. Cafu. Adriano. Zé Roberto. Ronaldinho. Switzerland, of course, too, are going to the World Cup. On Saturday, they were playing in this stadium against Ivory Coast. Drew 1-1 in one of their preparation matches. This is Detail, the left back. Time that Lucerne have had the ball for any sustained period. They have a couple of dangerous strikers, a Ghanaian and Tiamoa and a Cameroonian Chichuga, and those two were the two leading scorers in the Swiss Challenge League this past season. There again, Ronaldo was the leading scorer in the whole World Cup last time round, so we're talking about different footballing planets here. Roberto Carlos. Lucio. Now Cafu. Emerson. Glimpse there of Remo Maya, import from 1860 Munich. They were fairly embarrassed that they are co-tenants of the fantastic Allianz Arena in Munich, and yet only just avoided relegation from the second tier of German football this season. Here's Lambert. And again. And no flag. As Dida is grateful that the ball just makes it inside his area.
Just wonder whether Cafu was just kind of holding back a little bit behind his other three fellow defenders, and I think that was what caused it to be onside rather than off.
Far better a mistake tonight than the real thing. Ronaldo, Kaká. Brought down, free kick.
You wouldn't exactly say Brazil have got into their passing stride as yet, but that's what you enjoy most about them, the fluidity of the movement. I mean, they'll all interchange positions. Kaká then coming inside to win the free kick, and he'll be a worried man, won't he?
Well, he was having flashbacks to the most famous free kick goal of all in Le Tournoi in 1997. But one has to point out that Roberto Carlos's conversion rate is not the most impressive. When it works spectacularly. When it doesn't, no one's really surprised these days. Brazil want another free kick. They're not getting one this time. Adriano. 19 times for Inter this past season.
I think he's given a handball for that, John. I certainly hope so, because if it's for offside, then you can't be from a throw-in.
Adriano. Nice skill from Chuga. And possibilities here for Lucerne, and what a roar there would be if they were to score. And Dida is forced into making a save. Shot coming in from Carol Righetti.
Well, it was never a challenge at all, was it, from Roberto Carlos? I'm sure if the occasion was a little more serious then, there would have been a more robust challenge put in, but he just stood off and basically allowed him to get the shot in.
Well, the highlight of Righetti's career before tonight was a few top division games for Neuchâtel Xamax. Lucio's header. It's closed down by Ntiamoa.
Well, it doesn't look as if this Lucerne 11 is awestruck. I thought some of them might be. It looks as if they want to really compete with this Brazilian team and not let them have an easy ride. That was a non-challenge from Roberto Carlos. A decent enough effort from Righetti, reasonable power behind it, but you'd always fancy Dida to make the save. It's just bouncing in front, and he just does the sensible thing and helping it round.
Ronaldo's just easing his way back from injury. A thigh problem towards the end of the season. There's Carlos Alberto Pereira. His 5th World Cup coming up as a coach, which equals Boro Milutinovic's record. Although Milutinovic managed it with 5 different countries.
And he never kicked the ball as a professional footballer, did he?
No. He's made quite a career out of coaching. I don't think his pension's too shabby.
3 spells in the Middle East, telling me.
It's Righetti again, this time he can't keep it within bounds. It's a splendid arena, the St Jakob Park. It will be one of the venues for Euro 2008. In fact, on the 7th of June that year it will stage the opening game. And then 5 more fixtures, and lastly one of the semi-finals. It's been co-hosted by Switzerland and Austria, and the final will be in Vienna on the 29th of June 2008. Chance for the break now with Kaka. Steaming up on his outside. Cafu. And the cross just tipped away by the goalkeeper Zibon.
He still has it, all that energy, doesn't he, Cafu? I mean, is it 35 or 25? It's hard to tell. It's great support play for the ball from Kaka. Okay, not the greatest delivery, because it's favoured the goalkeeper, Zibon. And he's done enough, hasn't he, to get rid of it.
He's had a breather. Shot from distance, well wide from Emerson.
Always a nice position to take up just outside the box for anything that breaks to you like that, but it was pulled all the way.
How would you know that it's a nice position to take up just outside the box?
I did get a couple of nosebleeds in my career. Did knock in the odd goal.
60-63 this year, Carlos Alberto Pereira. Coach of the winning team for Brazil in 1994. Second time he's been to a World Cup with his home nation. He's also taken Kuwait in 82, the United Arab Emirates in 1990, and Saudi Arabia 4 years ago. To Roberto Carlos. These Brazilian players have had pretty arduous seasons. Not that we'd know it from Ronaldinho's approach. Ronaldo couldn't quite turn on the ball.
That was lovely, wasn't it, from Ronaldinho? Wonderful skill and great vision to spot the pass, almost pulled it off.
Adriano. Roberto Carlos to Ronaldinho. Roberto Carlos.
So a bit of samba skill. I mean, he's completely fooled Righetti, and he's away. And then as soon as he's away, look, the head's up. He's already looking for the runners, who he can pick out. One of the reasons he's been World Player of the Year twice.
They're expecting a host of half-time substitutions in this game. It's worrying that Brazil have only got the likes of Juninho, Edmilson, Fred, Chris, Luizão, Gilberto Silva. That's all they can call upon to come on.
Struggling for backup, aren't they?
Adriano. Ronaldinho. And Roberto Carlos. Well, would it be unkind to say that 5 or 6 years ago he might have got that?
To be honest, I don't think Ronaldinho did him any favours. As good as he is, that was overhit.
So here you are, Roberto Carlos. Try again. And there's the cross, and the header past the post by Ronaldo.
Well, we speculated as to him carrying a little bit of weight at the start, but that's got nothing to do with that because the run is timed to perfection. He's onside. It's a great delivery between defence and goalkeeper, and it's just crying out for the finishing touch. And he just needed to get a slight little bit more on it. I mean, he's laughing, but I think he'll be a little irritated with himself that he didn't put that away.
Brazil came top of their South American qualifying group on goal difference from Argentina. It's rather better than they managed last time around. They were only third in qualifying for 2002 and suffered 6 defeats along the way. Everybody wrote them off. What happened? But if they had a vulnerability in qualifying, it was on the road. Of 9 fixtures, they won only 2 away from home. Roberto, Cafu. He too just back from injury, and the header off the frame of the goal from Kaká.
Well, the crossing from both fullbacks has been excellent. Roberto Carlos before, and that time from Cafu, and equally I'm surprised that Kaká spurned another golden opportunity. 2 wonderful headed chances, Ronaldo and Kaká, and neither converted. Should be 2-0.
It's going, it might be soon. Brazil beginning to impose themselves. Here's Rigetti. And no flag. Lucio initially seemed to have played the Lucerne striker on, but the flag has gone up belatedly.
Great delivery, wasn't it? I mean, and Kaká was in full control of exactly what he was doing. And again, probably a little irked.
Ronaldo. Thought about letting fly. Might still, and does.
Yeah, I think he felt no need to pass it in the end because this Lucerne 11 had just got so many players back, came inside, opened it up and just created the room to shoot, but again, Zybon was always comfortable.
Brazil, the only team to appear at every World Cup finals. 5 times the winners. No team has scored more World Cup goals. They're 9 short of 200 going into the 2006 event. We're hoping to showcase another great team to go with 1958, Pelé and Garrincha. 1970, Pelé again with Jetsinho. 1982, Zico and Falcao and Socrates. Maybe Kaká and company can write themselves a similar page of history. Ronaldinho. Kaká.
That's lovely stuff again, and it was all starting with great control from this fella here in the middle of the park, and eventually he set up Kaká, a little bit wild from him, but great link-up play. I think, you know, split seconds, half a yard at the top level of the game, that's what separates you. And I think the wonderful technique they have, the control, whether it be on the run, at a standstill, I think that always just buys them that extra second and makes such a difference.
Lucerne didn't seem at all overawed by the occasion. A couple of moments of their own. This is Roberto. Ronaldinho.
just looking at, you know, potential weaknesses as well, and I think a lot of teams will be looking at how they can get at Brazil, and they do leave themselves a little open because they attack so much. But Roberto Carlos, because he moves upfield so much, João does move out to the left side to cover him an awful lot, and that does put Lucio under that little bit more pressure.
Ronaldo, Adriano to his right, and it was played just behind Adriano, and Ronaldo's now straight offside. Now Kaká. Oh, beautifully taken by Kaká. They've been threatening a goal for a few minutes now, Brazil. Ronaldo's wasted header, Kaká striking the bar with his header, and now a rapier of a right foot shot across the goalkeeper to give Brazil a well-deserved lead.
Well, he's onside, and I think he knows Ronaldo is just offside ahead of him, and that's why he decided he'd go for goal himself, and a very wise choice, because I think Zaibong, the Lucerne 11 goalkeeper's thinking, I've got this covered, I've got my angles right, and yet Kaká produces an exquisite effort right across the far corner, and the keeper's blameless on that. That's just a wonderful finish.
12 goals in 37 internationals. There are no full caps awarded this evening, but you can expect him to add to that goal tally in Germany. 19 goals this past season in Serie A for Milan. A £7 million signing from Sao Paulo 3 years ago. The effervescent Kaká has put Brazil in front here in Basel. And there could be more problems in store for Lucerne here with Ronaldo. Actually, there is cover. Kaká's goal has just served to increase the volume inside this stadium. It's Thomas Viss, who's in temporary charge following coach Van Eck's departure. Word on the street in Basel is that Chiriaco Sforza, capped 79 times by Switzerland, former Inter and Bayern player, is going to be unveiled shortly as the new coach for the Swiss Super League season, although familiar problem, as we've seen with Glenn Roeder at Newcastle, he doesn't have the pro licence and is at this moment in time forbidden from taking over, but they're hoping to get round that. And they can look to a precedent in England if they need support.
How they were going to approach it tonight themselves, because they're right in the middle of their off-season. But, you know, I think that the way they're going about it, it seems as if they've decided to start their pre-season early, because I think they've been vigorous in their approach, and there's an energy about them. Okay, they're going to be totally outclassed, but they're certainly trying and putting it in.
Santo. Lambert. Because of their mid-season break and the harsh winter conditions that apply in this part of Europe, they actually start training again in 2 weeks' time, having played their last game of last season only 2 weeks ago, Lucerne. And they have friendlies penciled in against the likes of St Gallen and Thun. Remember them in the Champions League against Arsenal this past season. And they start on the 24th of June.
Clash of heads, John. Chuga and João.
Doesn't seem there's any lasting harm, fortunately. And this is Kaká. Adriano. Kaká. Plenty to admire in the, as ever, attacking approach of the Brazilians. But is this a system that will work against the bigger nations, the countries that are more dangerous to Brazil?
Well, an area I'd look at that might be changed if they're playing against a more powerful nation. For example, I think if Brazil played against England, I think things might be changed in central midfield. If you have to look at the likes of Gerrard and Lampard, I think Zé Roberto might be moved to a wing position. And
who is Zé Roberto? Kaká. And Cafu. And touched just wide by Adriano.
Slightly behind him in the end, he's going for a little flick, Adriano. When the ball comes in, look, he's just gone for a little flick and didn't get it right. Yeah, and I think they could change things central midfield rather than use Emerson and Zé Roberto that are playing tonight. You could put Gilberto Silva in and just make it a little more robust to look after runners from midfield. And I think that's the wonderful thing about Brazil. Carlos Alberto Pereira has got so many options. He can change things in so many ways to suit whatever opposition. But principally, I think they let others worry about them, what they're going to do.
Elegant moment for Andrioli, the Swiss-Italian national. Lucerne, a team with a proud history of a fairly bare trophy cabinet. Winners of the Swiss Super League for the only time in 1989. Twice they've won the Swiss Cup. 5 times they've played in Europe. Who made their first rapid strides 30 years after formation in the 1930s when an Englishman by the name of Horace Williams was their manager. Latterly, their coaches have included Urs Schönenberger, the man that was in charge of Thun in the Champions League. Also Raimondo Ponti. Nottingham Forest fans may remember him, perhaps with something of a shudder. It's also the club where Ottmar Hitzfeld cut his teeth as a player and where David Fairclough came when he left Liverpool. For the last 4 years they've been languishing in the Challenge League, the Swiss equivalent of the Championship. And they only came by this prestige friendly because their canton of Lucerne was hosting the Brazilian team for their pre-World Cup training camp.
Look at Cafu gone again. That's what I mean, John. When they do commit somebody forward like that, you have to do things with pace and the counter-attack against them. Then you may have a chance.
Roberto Carlos. Ronaldinho. His touch left Roberto Carlos with rather too much to do, but it took a nick on its way through. It will be a corner. Taken by Ronaldinho.
I just wonder as well how much time they spend on things like that. You know, I can't really see them spending an hour at a time on set pieces for and against in training.
Well, that is the relatively happy-go-lucky approach that has so endeared Brazil to neutral football fans across the world. At their best, they are fantastic. At worst, they're not shabby.
All right.
Here's Lucio. And Lucio has continued his run and is denied at the last by a decent save by Zibong.
He's always liked to do that. Even from his Leverkusen days, he's always tried to break out of defence. And not the greatest to finish. I think he's tried to slip it past the goalkeeper near a post and he had that covered. And you can see, whatever about his fellow strikers, the strikers in his team, he's a little annoyed that he didn't finish. That was a great chance.
In the nicest possible way. He is a monster of a man. Ronaldinho, driven. He'll get a chance to take another. Bearing in mind how he's delivered the last two, one from either side, may not be a bad thing. Oh, especially now. rather like that moment in the Champions League where he completely sliced a shot. Good chance that he had in the final. He can do the most extravagant things, and yet when it comes to the straightforward issues of knockabout football, he falls flat on his face.
Zé Roberto did him a big favour. I mean, this is what's followed it. The dainty footwork. Lambert trying to stay with him. And the pass didn't quite come off in the end, but this is the one he's kicked the ground. In fact, did he kick the assistant, I think. Dear, oh
That's
dear.
violent conduct, Jim. Well, the flow of the play has been increasingly one way as this first half has unfolded. And here is Roberto Carlos. Kaká.
I just think it's outrageous that this Lucerne 11 have even got the assistants marking him tightly.
And even with 2 assistants, 13 against 11, they're still very much second best at the moment, which was only to be expected. It is an occasion more than anything else for Lucerne to enjoy and be proud of in future years. Today they played in front of 33,000 at the St Jacob Park in Basel against the world champions. And they actually have a Brazilian on their staff, Ratinho, who's due to retire after this game, who's going to come on for an emotional farewell for the last few minutes in the second half. Ronaldinho.
They had a decent start, didn't they? The home side, or more or less the home side. But I think once Brazil began to step it up, that's the problem, they're getting the ball back.
Here's Cafu, who's called the right back, but really acts as a right winger half the time. Slip through, looking for Ronaldo. It's Chuga. He was the top scorer in the Swiss Challenge League with 27 goals this past season, only 34 games.
Nutmegs from Kaká just now.
Ronaldinho. Ronaldo just took on one too many. Roberto Carlos for Ronaldo. And again, Ronaldo, almost all the way through. It was whipped off his toe at the last.
It's not quite happening for him, is it? Little controls now and again. It's just getting away from him slightly.
Still, the corners aren't right from Ronaldinho. Carlos, well to keep that alive. Lucio finds himself well forward once more. And in theory, that means that Brazil are a little short-handed at the back. Whether they'll be tested is another matter.
Well, I mean, the work rate's there because you could see just at the bottom of the picture before Roberto Carlos just they were really busting a gut to get back because he knew he was out of position. I mean, there is an incredible work rate in this team as well. But you're right, John, they do leave themselves a little open, a little vulnerable at times, but it has to be quick. That counter against them has to be sharp.
Carlos Alberto on the brain. He's been on a speaking tour of the United Kingdom this past week.
One of my first World Cup memories, his goal in 1970 in the final. Fantastic.
Perhaps was the defining Brazilian goal of all of them. Left by Ronaldo, through goes Kaká, and out comes Zibo.
I mean, that's what you need. You need great discipline to stay with them, people following runners, tracking people, good communication. And great focus. I mean, the concentration in your side needs to be spot on when you're playing against such incredible movement.
Whilst Brazil have been training hard, Lucerne's preparation 2 weeks after the end of the regular season was one training session and one town hall reception prior to this game to celebrate their promotion back to the Super League. Normally they play at the Stadion Almend in Lucerne with a capacity of just 15,000, and their last league game was watched by only 1,600. This is Roberto. Ronaldinho. Lovely footwork. Adriano. There have been moments. Not all of them pristine. Ronaldinho. Just too strong for yes, Cafu. Bearing in mind the regularity with which he bursts forward, how on earth has he only scored 5 times in all those caps for Brazil?
I wonder how many assists he's got there. But that's high.
Given against Cafu. Pulling back Detail.
I don't think there was an awful lot in it. I think Detail managed to convince the referee there that the foul had been committed, but not much for me.
Dal Santo. Adriano. Kaká. Ronaldinho. And Ronaldo. Off the post, the inside of the post and out again. Still in play. And Adriano's header is in. If at first you don't succeed. And Brazil lead by 2-0.
Well, the surprise is we've had to wait until the 38th minute before a second goal has arrived. It's a great ball initially. I think it's just very clever and very selfless as well from Ronaldinho to lay it off to Ronaldo. He was very unlucky. I mean, and once this comes back, I think he does very, very well, Adriano, just to hang it up a little bit so as the defender can't clear it off the line. I mean, it's not quite been his night so far, has it, Ronaldo? That probably deserved better. I think the keeper should hold his ground as well. I'm not quite sure what he's thinking of to go out there. But he does well, Adriano, because he just hangs it up a little bit and keeps it in the air long enough, and the defender trying to clear his lines is unable to because it's just too high for him.
Santo with a valiant effort on the line, but Adriano adds his name to that of Kaká on the score sheet. And whilst it doesn't reflect Brazil's superiority, at least it provides an idea of just how much better than the Lucerne Select 11 they've been. Unsurprising. Nonetheless, we would hope by the end of the evening to have created a scoreline that shows that they were much better than their part-time opponents.
I think the exercise is achieving what the coach wants, though, in terms of they're dictating the pace. They're playing things to their liking, the way they want to. And when they want to step it up, they can. When they want to ease off, that's there also. I think it was a bright enough start from this Lucerne 11, but Brazil have just got into their stride, and they're just way too superior for what's up against them.
Dal Santo, who did his best on the line to prevent Adriano scoring, was in the Sangallan team that famously knocked Chelsea out of the UEFA Cup 4 or 5 years ago. Brazil for once having to do some defensive work. And there's no hoofing it into Rose Ed. Breaking with Shangu, and now Andrioli. Didn't have the pace of Kaká.
That's what I'm talking to you as well about the work rate. Johnny, he doesn't really have to do that on a night like tonight, but there you go, Kaká back defending, and it's brilliant work, and you need that. You can't just play the pretty football, you need the backup of that type of industry.
So the two of them together there, Andrioli and Kaká. Hard to believe, but it's true, but Andrioli is the younger of the two. Rated to have a promising future within the ranks of Swiss club football.
Just notice this fella as well tonight, Adriano. He's dropped quite deep on a few occasions. He's allowed Ronaldo to kind of lead the line and be the most advanced of the strikers, and he's tended to just drop into that little hole. Here he is again.
Roberto. The Brazilian way is that they prefer training to playing matches in the build-up to a World Cup. And from their point of view, this is really a glorified training session. Ronaldinho. And they stopped illegally. Ball. It's arrowing towards Cafu. Andrioli. Detail. Trapped by Cafu. Able to find any sort of escape route. Roberto guilty of the foul.
I think the crime was a bit of a scissors-like tackle. Led with the right and then seemed to kind of scissors him with the left.
Lambert. Juan in ahead of Shangu. And now onside, and a chance for 3 for Brazil. Taken with his customary aplomb by Ronaldo.
Well, I guess defenders have got to query whether it was offside or not. Assisting certainly kept his flag down. Perhaps he was in line, but it's just delayed long enough, and I wonder whether he'd strayed, but not. I mean, once he gets in position, it's a very cool finish. I mean, he's had a couple of sights up to now with the header, the shot off the post, but that was just a case of picking a spot and slotting it away, and I think you'll be seeing more of that in a couple of weeks' time in Germany.
Well, he, more than any other player, knows what's needed to taper perfectly for a World Cup. And whilst he does perhaps still look a little on the heavy side, be sure he'll be pinned sharp in a fortnight's time. Ronaldo, Adriano and Kaká, the scorers in the first half here. And Thomas Viss must be glad he's just a caretaker. 20,000 Brazilians are expected in Germany for the World Cup itself. A good number of them have arrived in Switzerland already to be part of the training camp. Del Santo. Off goes Adriano, and Zibung has timed his charge from goal pretty well.
There's such great confidence about them as well. There's such belief in what they can do, in their ability. I mean, you're sitting in that dressing room and look around you. I'm sure it just give you a lift by seeing what's on either side.
Ronaldinho. So Roberto. There's half-time. There'll be an extra second added. And Brazil arrive at the midway point of this penultimate pre-World Cup friendly, leading by 3-0. Kaká got there first with a right foot drive from an angle that was not prohibitive but was testing. Adriano their second with a looping header, and Ronaldo their third, 2 minutes short of the midway point of this game. Lucerne started brightly but have faded, as one might expect. And the half-time score here at St Jakob Park in Basel is Brazil 3, the FC Lucerne 11-0.
This programme is sponsored by 888.com. What's your game?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Incredible performance in the smallest space. The new EF81. BenQ, Siemens.
What is soul?
I want somebody to tell me just what is the soul of man.
You can say. All we can say is that when it's there, we like it. And when it's gone, we miss it.
I want somebody to tell me just what is the soul of man.
Whatever your plans this summer, Garmin's car navigation expertise will take you almost anywhere you want on your European holiday. The new V360 comes with preloaded maps for Western Europe. Garmin gives you the freedom to go where you want,
Welcome.
when you want, and helps keep you entertained when you get there. For your nearest dealer, find your personal navigation system at garmin.co.uk.
Whey protein, now only $9.99. That's 54% off. You really can't afford to miss the half-price sale now at Holland & Barrett.
Okay, now I want to see a good, clean match. Toshiba, I'll be watching you, because with high definition and free view, you're at the top of your game. Right. Good. Let's play! If you want a great view of all the action this summer, there's nothing better to have on your team than a new 37-inch Toshiba LCD TV. Buy one now from Euronics and you'll get a free DVD recorder too!
So our bosses gave us 10 grand to make an ad about this week's 60p Zoo special, but instead we used it to hire Keely and took her lingerie shopping.
Oh, I quite like that one as well.
That is very nice.
Yeah, nice.
Extreme protection that lets you go wild. Sure.
At Halfords now, this JVC with iPod connection is only $149.99. £50 off and fitted for you free.
They're the most important part of any business. Will they be ready? Ready to build relationships, to solve problems and invent new products, ready to make a difference. If they have the right software, they will. Microsoft. Software for the people-ready business.
You're here because you want to be here. To feel the dread of anticipation in the pit of your stomach. For the sweat, the pain, the noise, the glory. You're here because you want to be here. The Big Fight Live, Thursday at 9:30 on ITV4.
This programme is sponsored by 888.com. What's your game?
Welcome back to St Jakob Park in Basel in Switzerland, where at half-time in Brazil's penultimate pre-World Cup warm-up match, they lead a Lucerne Select 11 by 3-0. Kaká, Adriano and Ronaldo have lifted us from our seats with moments where they found the opposition net. It might have been many more, and we can enjoy again the salient moments of the first half. And there's the cross and the header past the post by Ronaldo.
He's onside. It's a great delivery between defence and goalkeeper, and it's just crying out for the finishing touch.
Roberto, Cafu. He too just back from injury, and the header off the frame of the goal from Kaká.
Well, the crossing from both fullbacks has been excellent. Roberto Carlos before him, that time from Cafu, and equally I'm surprised that Kaká spurned another golden opportunity. Two wonderful headed chances, Ronaldo and Kaká, and neither converted.
Ronaldo, Adriano to his right, and it was played just behind Adriano, and Ronaldo's now straight offside. Now Kaká. Oh, beautifully taken by Kaká. They've been threatening a goal for a few minutes now, Brazil. Ronaldo's wasted header, Kaká striking the bar with his header, and now a rapier of a right foot shot across the goalkeeper to give Brazil a well-deserved lead.
Well, he's onside, and I think he knows Ronaldo is just offside ahead of him, and that's why he decided he'd go for goal himself.
Adriano. Kaká. Ronaldinho. And Ronaldo. Off the post, the inside of the post, and out again. Still in play. And Adriano's header is in. If at first you don't succeed. And Brazil lead by 2-0. And now onside, and a chance for 3 for Brazil. Taken with his customary aplomb by Ronaldo.
Well, I guess defenders have got to query whether it was offside or not. Assisting certainly kept his flag down. Perhaps he was in line, but it's just delayed long enough, and I wonder whether he'd strayed, but not. I mean, once he gets in position, that's a very, very cool finish. I mean, he's had a couple of sights up to now with the header, the shot off the post. But that was just a case of picking a spot and slotting it away, and I think you'll be seeing more of that in a couple of weeks' time in Germany.
The relative chill of the Swiss night kept at bay by some moments to warm the heart from Brazil in the first half. 3 goals so far, I suspect many more and much more to come. after the break.
This programme is sponsored by 888.com. What's your game?
Buy a Focus Sport TDCi diesel before the 30th of June for less than its petrol equivalent.
Women, don't expect any help on a Tuesday. Nuts about women, motors, sport, read Nuts. This week, free World Cup mag.
Believe me, you only make beautiful music if you know how to play in an orchestra.
Heated like a sauna, penetrating through your body armor. Rhythmically we massage ya, with hip hop mixed up with samba, with samba.
When you call that number, blood is on your hands.
Indigo satellite navigation. Get there.
We all have to eat. But as New Yorkers, we have to eat well.
Innovative menus, award-winning wines. We've flown more New Yorkers than any other airline. And if we can keep them happy.
Isn't it great to be able to open your garage door without getting out of the car? Thanks to Nationwide, you don't have to. Just push the button and your door goes up easily. The garage doors have many features, including battery backup in case of power failure and an intruder alarm. Also, the doors come with an infrared beam that stops the garage door operating should the beam be broken.
Come on, drummer. You won't do that again, will you?
Buy now and save up to 25% in our summer sale. Plus, nothing to pay for 12 months.
Get the details today by ringing 0800 600 777.
We worked very hard all week for this, and particularly you, Peter, particularly you, Bobby, particularly you, Jackie. Let's get hold of the ball and play good football. Go on, let's go to win. Good luck.
Go, Chris, hit it! Yes!
What do they do?
Hey, the shirt pull.
Well, you must shirt pull.
Can I have your name, please?
Sure.
No more, please.
Carlsberg don't do pub teams, but if they did, they'd probably be the best pub team in the world.
This programme is sponsored by 888.com. What's your game?
Here in Basel, half-time entertainment to warm the crowd. With a theme that is as colourful as the Brazil shirts. In fact, more so. Brazil leading by 3-0 at half-time through Kaká, Adriano and Ronaldo. number 10 for Brazil. Hasn't yet added his name to the list of scorers. That's Ronaldinho. He was obviously a hero to that young lady. Let's have a look at one or two of the other scores. There are 7 other matches involving World Cup nations going on this evening. 3 of them have finished. We'll run down the list. Latest score, Argentina 0, Angola 0. Chile and the Ivory Coast, the Ivorians obviously going to the World Cup. They've drawn 1-1, a goal from Aruna Dindan, earning a draw for the Ivory Coast. That was a penalty. Czech Republic have beaten Costa Rica through a Vratislav Lokvench goal. Poland 1, Colombia 2, a blow to the Poles in preparation. They were 2-0 down until the last minute. And latest scores, England 0, Hungary 0. Half-time, Germany 0, Japan 0. And Tunisia lead Belarus through a first-half penalty from Rangers' Hamed Namouchi. Now, we're expecting to see plenty of substitutions, but they may not be immediate for the start of this second half. And the word we're getting from down on the touchline is that the majority of the Brazil players who were central to their first half display will start the second period as well. Lucerne have not so many reserves to call on. They've got 7 compared to 12 on the Brazilian bench this evening. And with this not being a fully fledged international friendly, the rule that limits the number of substitutions is not in operation for this game. So in theory, every member of the Brazilian squad could get a piece of the action tonight. The St Jakob Park in Basel, in tune with this region as a whole, has taken the Brazilian to its heart. Tickets at a premium for this and for the training sessions. And the local economy of Vegas has been boosted no end by the influx of so many Brazilian supporters and indeed Brazilian pressmen. There are something like 470 in the travelling Brazilian press corps over here in preparation for the World Cup. And there are 3 fixtures facing them. They start off in Berlin on the 13th against Croatia. On the 18th they face the Australians, Gus Hiddink's Australians, in Munich, and then they're up against their fellow countryman Zico and his Japan team in the Westfalenstadion in Dortmund, their concluding group game on the 22nd of June. And looking at those fixtures, Jim Beglin, Australia would seem to be the most attractive of them, but Croatia should give Brazil a game too, and you never know what you're going to get with Japan.
Yeah, well, I just Zico as well, Confederations Cup, Japan 2-2 with Brazil, and created a whole host of opportunities that could have embarrassed the Brazilians on the day. Croatia will be a tricky enough opening game, and Australia is a real glamour game because of so many Premiership players, of course, we know, playing for the Aussies as well. So yeah, it's a group they will win, I'm sure of that, but I think we should see some very good football in it.
Their habit is to mess up the Confederations Cup, though, isn't it? So how much of a guide is that?
Well, it'll do them no harm, the fact that they went there and won it, and of course beat Argentina 4-1 in the final. I mean, that's a big feather in their cap, to beat their biggest South American rivals in an auspicious occasion like that.
It's comforting to know that Ronaldinho drinks tea like the rest of us.
It is, but what a talent. I think he's been probably outshunned by the likes of Kaká so far this evening, and I'll remember that attempted corner kick for a while when he was so closely man-marked by the assistant. He caught him as he tried to kick the ball.
Well, down in the tunnel there, they don't know what they're missing. Lavish half-time entertainment for this crowd of 33,000. And here come Brazil, ready for the second half. Just a reminder that on their bench tonight, the likes of Juninho of Lyon, Edmilson, who played in the Champions League final victory over Arsenal for Barcelona, Fred, he of the baby celebration, also of Lyon, we saw him in the Champions League this past season, Cicinho of Real Madrid, and Robinho, also from Madrid, a player who's yet to really fulfil his true potential. Maybe the World Cup will be his stage. Dida, whose place has been under threat in the build-up to the competition, seems to have fended off the challenge of Inter's Julio Cesar, and indeed Sao Paulo's goal-scoring goalkeeper, Rogério Ceni. And Roberto Carlos, who's been strongly linked with a possible summer move to Chelsea. Turned out for Manchester United, had their bid for Ronaldinho when he was leaving Paris Saint-Germain. Turned out more favourably. I suppose they would argue they've got their own Ronaldinho in Wayne Rooney when fit. It's been a friendly. Half-time is now extended to 20 minutes. Not too many people arguing. Ronaldo approaching the World Cup, arguably in better shape mentally and physically than he's ever done before. And Ronaldinho at 26 should be at his peak for this competition. Kaká at 24, well, he's got at least one more World Cup left in him, if not two, but he's at a stage where his career is maturing. And he too will be a man for opponents to fear. Lucerne, of course, in the blue and white, playing from the right in this second half. Two changes in the Lucerne 11. Nordine Sam, number 23, is out there for a start. We'll try and run through all the substitutions that have been made at half-time. They're going to be made in a fairly piecemeal fashion. Is one of the alterations. Alex Greco has replaced David Zibung in goal for Lucerne, the Italian who played in Serie B for Messina.
Yeah, I think Carlos Pereira will just want the kind of brisk pace that Brazil managed in the first half, rekindle in the second. I think there was a nice purpose about what they were doing, and I think once that's there again, second half, I think you'll probably see him make a few changes then and maybe just ease things off. You can't say they're at full pelt. I think you'll see a step up again against New Zealand on Sunday, and then obviously it'll be all systems go once they kick off against Croatia.
Another side that likes to peak prior to a World Cup, as their record shows they tend to reach their best at it. Cafu, the only man to have played in 3 World Cup finals. Lucio. I thought he might have got something from the referee.
Und die Auswechslung bei FC Lucerne Selection in der Halbzeit. An Stelle Nummer 1 Partido. Nummer 5 Ivan Alessandro.
Lots of concentration from Cafu.
Und mit der 31 Emmo Meyer. 29 Nummer 3 Pascal Wagner. Nummer 23 Morgan Sam. Nummer 27 Alex Greco. Und Nummer 11 Sokol.
Ronaldinho. Ronaldo with Roberto Carlos outside him. It's not the first pass that's been overhit, but the veteran left-back has been expected to chase.
Yeah, well, Ronaldinho played a couple a bit too long for the first half, and that was a little clumsy, but 3-0 up, no real pressure on. I think the Fort will laugh about it now. It'll get a little more serious in a couple of weeks.
Free kick is Brazil's. Just one semi-serious point. Lucerne have obviously tried their best, but are they good enough opposition to make this a worthwhile exercise for Brazil?
Not really. I mean, I'm looking at them because I'm going to cover a couple of Brazil games in the World Cup, and I'm just looking for any potential weaknesses or vulnerabilities, and it's really hard to highlight them against opposition like this, because I mean they have struggled to live with Brazil's passing and their movement. They're not the most organised bunch defensively, so you can't really get a true gauge done.
Gus Hiddink's just been in touch, by the way. He says if you spot any weaknesses, could you give him a call?
Oh, he's pretty good at doing that himself. He's got a great World Cup record himself. France 98, Holland semi-final, went out in penalties to Brazil. Very unlucky, and we'll never forget what he did with South Korea last time out.
It was one of the seminal World Cup experiences, being part of Korea's run to the last four. And Gus Hiddink was offered the chance to write his own terms to extend his stay as South Korean coach. But he'll be taking over with Russia after the World Cup finals. Here's Cafu. Four waiting. And first time shot, just wide from Kaká.
I commented about his brilliant movement and his instinctive timing. He's a great ability to get in positions like that undetected. Little unlucky, it's a decent effort. But against better opposition, the amount of room Cafu and Roberto Carlos have been afforded tonight on the flanks, that's not going to happen against better opposition. But time and time again, when they make a run in support and there's acres of space for them to pick the ball up and just be able to get their heads up and pick people out.
Lucio of Bayern Munich. And the group game against Australia will be in his home stadium of the Allianz Arena.
Remember Lucio making the mistake, John, for Michael Owen's goal against Brazil in the last World Cup.
Now a rare chance for Lucerne. And they played this well for Chuga. And the whistle has gone.
Offside. Only just. Brazil aren't holding back, getting on with it straight away. It was this big moment, though. He still could have found the net, and he's fired it straight at Dida, Chuga.
Ronaldinho displeased with the challenge on him. Takes quite a lot to wipe the smile from his face, but it was naughty.
That was a little nasty from Mehmeti. I'm sure it was addressed beforehand. I'm sure they spoke about it to the Lucerne management team, just to kind of ease off and no over physical challenges. Nothing silly.
Roberto Carlos. Ronaldinho. Here's Cafu. And Kaká. He's quite happy to have another go. Cafu staying forward. Free kick conceded by Chuga. Michel Chuga, formerly of Basel. So Roberto. Kaká. Touch from Ronaldinho was enough to fox his compatriot Ronaldo.
They won't want it to be embarrassing as well, Lucerne. I think there'll be a little bit of pride involved. But I think coming into this game, I think they knew tonight the only thing they were likely to get out of it was probably a Brazilian shirt at the end. Swap with a superstar.
Tom. And that was a chance. And Tiamoa arriving at the near post.
That's a good chance too. I mean, okay, when you're ahead of the near post, it's always a little more difficult, but he didn't make a good job of that in Tiamoa. You know, a more delicate touch, and indeed it could have been sprawling to get across to the other side. It was a decent chance.
Is that another of your weaknesses pinpointed?
I don't think I remember too many diving headers in my career.
Ronaldinho to Ronaldo. Back to Roberto Carlos. Not just players, but icons.
I think that's the thing about Brazil. I mean, they've got to win the ultimate prize with the ultimate style of football. I mean, that's the pressure on them. It's not just a case of winning. They've got to do it a certain way.
In a sense, football defines their nation. That's where the pressure does come from. Roberto Carlos. Pass of the night. Cafu. Lucerne sticking at it and have forged a chance for themselves to make a name for themselves.
I think this might be offside as well. And Tiamoa, I think he was slightly ahead when the ball was played, and I think he's been pulled up for it. And it's probably just. I mean, it's a bit hard. I think on the occasion it might.
Well, there goes the flag just there,
yeah.
which was late.
Yeah.
Ronaldinho. Adriano. Ronaldinho a second time. Here's Ronaldo, a third time Ronaldinho. Left the ball behind.
I think all the talk as well, John, about the two fullbacks getting on in years, Cafu and Roberto Carlos, and for me, just looking at the way they play their football, they're still a huge part of Brazil going forward. There's a big reliance on them to provide the width in the side, because Kaká and Ronaldinho will drift inside so much, and I think they're still an integral part of this whole outfit.
Very carefully around this Lucerne team. The total number of half-time substitutions came to 4, but there's a mistake, and Zé Roberto has set up Ronaldo for his second and Brazil's 4th, and that one was a gift.
That was a gift. It was unprofessional, really, because you don't need to dally on the ball at the back like that. I think if you do things like that, you're asking for trouble. And it wasn't clever. really. Once he got in position, Zé Roberto did the unselfish thing and just set up Ronaldo. Easy finish. But it was just poor defending. The other goals, okay, Brazil have had to work a bit harder to create, but that one was gifted.
Just to stress that these goals do not count towards career totals for the Brazil players. Ronaldo's record is healthy enough already. 58 goals in 91 internationals. There's 4 changes that we were referring to by Lucerne. Off at half-time went the goalkeeper Zibung, centre-half Dal Santo, Andrioli, the left winger, and Maya, the other centre-back, and on the goalkeeper Alex Greco, resplendent in his red top, Pascal Bada, Nordine Sam, and Sokol Maliki wearing number 11. No changes by Brazil as yet. This is Christophe Lambert, one of those who remained for Lucerne for the first half.
Yeah, I think it was one of the changes you mentioned that made the mistake as well. John had got caught in possession, Nordine Sam, by Zé Roberto.
Adriano. Ronaldinho. That's a fair pass. Ronaldo, and the goalkeeper with his legs concedes a corner. Ronaldinho. Chance for another, and it's 2 in 2 minutes. And this time Lucio has his goal.
Well, his attempt to finish in the first half wasn't as well executed as that. I mean, that looked like a striker who's so used to this. I mean, yes, Ronaldo's in an offside position, but not interfering. Lucio is onside, and Emerson, I think, it's a lovely ball with the outside of his right foot to find him. And look at the way he composed himself to centre back and just picked out the far corner. And now it is becoming a little embarrassing for the Swiss side.
They'll try and save some of their embarrassment. They were designated the away team tonight, Lucerne, so if Brazil go and score 10 at least, they've not technically done so on the Swiss side's home ground, but that'll be scant consolation if Brazil run amok from here on in. 2 from Ronaldo, 1 apiece from Kaká, Adriano, and now defender Lucio.
That's what I'm talking about as well in terms of the opposition. I mean, I think they've been ball watching a lot of the time tonight, and Brazil have been able to creep around behind them, and that's happened several times.
Cafu. The defensive header becomes the launching pad for another attack with Kaká, who's got Ronaldinho for company. And this is Ronaldinho. Went for elevation and didn't get the loft.
Yeah, that's it, he's just gone for that little dink. I think he saw the goalkeeper just a few yards off his line, and it was on. It's great vision to spot it, but just didn't get what he wanted on it. Out of them all tonight, Kaká's the one for me who's, I think, just pulling it all together. I mean, Ronaldinho, we know he can spark on his night and he can run the show and be sensational, as can Ronaldo, as can Adriano, but Kaká for me has been superb to watch tonight.
Di Napoli has arrived on the scene now. The Swiss international striker.
Look, the little look up, the eyes, he just looked, and you could see instantly he knew he hadn't got the contact he wanted. Just needed a little more to get the elevation.
This time it wasn't because he kicked an official. A hero to so many. And here comes Hervé Makuka, who joined Lucerne at the age of 14. Midfield player. Roberto Carlos. we say about pass of the night? It's just at least equalled it. Ronaldo. Cafu. That's a corner.
Long pass from Roberto Carlos, and he's always in support, isn't he? He's always up there in the hand. As I said before to you, John, I mean, the two fullbacks, I think, still have a huge part, despite their age, to play in what's to come.
Well, tonight, as they've been more or less the two wingers.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because Ronaldinho and Kaká will move inside more often than not, and they need the width to come from their fullbacks.
But surely Cafu and Roberto Carlos won't get forward as often and as effectively against class opposition.
They'll try. They'll try. If Brazil are really on their game with enough of the ball, then, I mean, look at Cafu again, right up in support. Quite over that one.
Adriano with the header.
Yeah, he's normally good in the air, but he's just on the way down as he gets his head to it, and consequently can't get over the ball to keep it down. But you're right, the two fullbacks are able to do it far more against this team and in this position as well. 5 goals better off.
Brazil scored 5 at the last World Cup against Costa Rica in their last group game. And if they do win the World Cup for a 6th time this summer, the trophy will be retired, because it will be the 3rd time they've won this particular World Cup. Already been responsible for the retiring of the Jules Rimet trophy, and they'd won that 3 times. Here come 4 substitutes. Robinho, number 23 for Ronaldo. Ricardinho of Corinthians is coming on as well for Ronaldinho. And not content with those 2. There is Robinho of Real Madrid, just 22 years of age. Ed Nielsen for Zé Roberto. 13 days on from his winner's medal in the Champions League final.
I mean, that's the thing when they're making substitutions, it's of that calibre. Players that have played right up there at the highest level.
Well, he'll be gutted, won't he? No chance of a hat-trick.
And save it for the Kiwis.
Or even better for Croatia. Adriano off in pursuit. Juninho also came on in the midst of that flurry of changes, the Lyon midfielder.
I think if they get a free kick outside the box now, Roberto Carlos is going to have some competition.
He's certainly up against someone with a better conversion rate in Juninho.
I think he'll get better as well with time, John. I think, yes, he hasn't delivered what Real Madrid were hoping for a season, but sometimes I think it takes players a year just to settle and get a feel for everything, and I'm sure you'll see much more from perhaps in the summer's World Cup, but certainly next season in La Liga.
Whistle's gone, just as Robinho touched the ball for the first time. £16 million he cost last summer from Santos, Pele's old club.
Look at that for a touch as well. And it's just a little pull has caught the referee's attention, and he's penalised him for it. But it was a great first touch to flick it past his marker.
Looks younger than 22. Plays as if without a care in the world. Juninho. Ed Nielsen. It's too strong for Adriano. Robinho. Juninho. Robinho, it's a speciality, the pedalada, the step over. It ends with a free kick. It's Ricardinho of Corinthians in Sao Paulo. He spelled with Middlesbrough a couple of seasons ago. The closest he got to a first-team appearance was the bench at Chelsea. Letting fly from distance is the newly arrived Juninho. And by his standards, that was close range.
Do you know what's to admire about that is he just passes it. Once Roberto Carlos stops it, look at it, he just side foots it. It's just a lovely little curling pass. I think the goalkeeper's position has to be questioned, but I think even if he was in a more central location in his goal, he's not getting anywhere near that. Alex Greco is hopelessly lost. That is an absolutely exquisite finish. It's just a pass into the top corner. A nice firm pass. Beautiful.
He is arguably the best taker of a free kick in European football right now, David Beckham notwithstanding. His success rate is phenomenal, and he can score from anywhere up to 45 yards out. He got one goal from 44 metres at Ajaccio in a French league game earlier this season. And no wonder they're congratulating him, because whatever the context, however unimportant in the overall scheme of things, the game, that was a special moment. More changes. Number 16 is Gilberto of Hertha Berlin, not of Arsenal. And number 13, the Real Madrid fullback, Cicinho. Half-time lead now doubled.
Just when you think Brazil are probably going to ease off, they bring in two young fullbacks.
Sign for Lucerne of their Brazilian, Ratinho, who were promised will make a late cameo to say farewell to his adoring supporters.
You're right though, John. I mean, whatever the context, whatever the standard of opposition, that was a special moment. It was a magical free kick.
There's Juninho. Cicinho. Nielsen. Farewell from Roberto Carlos. Given.
Good work again. I mean, Pereira obviously feels that Adriano needs a little bit more. Maybe his conditioning is not quite right, and he sees him to stay on longer than everybody else. Maybe he'll see the whole 90, who knows, but he's working hard.
Whistle from the referee. De Napoli was impeded. It's a long time since he won the last of his 4 caps for Switzerland, Patrick De Napoli.
noticed as well tonight the multi-ball system is in play. I mean, Brazil are getting on with it fairly swiftly. Anytime it seems to cross the line, which is the last thing Lucerne needed, really.
Robinho. And again, Robinho. Roberto. Nielsen.
I think he'll be the first to admit not the cleanest of strikes. Didn't catch it as neatly as he would have liked.
Fairly filthy night now in Basel. Wind's been falling for much of this second half. It's a gusting wind as well. Nielsen. Robinho. Ricardinho. Cicinho. There's the man whose special free kick lit up the evening, Juninho. Just that goal we referred to at Ajaccio that was remarkable this past season. He got a Champions League special from 35 yards at Bayern. And of his 65 goals for Lyon, 27 have come from free kicks.
Came so close to being a Champions League semi-finalist as well, didn't he, with Lyon this season? Very nearly knocked Milan out.
Yes, there were the minutes of going through in the San Siro. For Shevchenko and Inzaghi to play late hands. Cicinho. Juninho. Brazilian keepy-uppy. And now Lucio asked to do some defending, but Dida's out quickly.
Yeah, I mean, because of the rain as well, the pitch that little bit greasy, or anything that hits the surface now is going to be away from you.
Robinho. And Robinho having a shot! And the goals are getting more and more special. Precious little backlift and immense power that sent it racing past the substitute goalkeeper Greco. In the blink of an eye, Brazil can strike.
That's another fantastic finish. I mean, it's beaten the goalkeeper on his near post, and most keepers would be a bit upset at that, but he's hit it with great power. Yes, it is the best attempt from Alex Greco. I'm not sure about this fella, John, but it was a great strike from him. There was a lot of power behind that. Robinho makes his mark.
5 goals in 22 senior internationals for Robinho. Most experts reckon many more to come. And there is a Brazilian in the colours of Lucerne. You can see from his shape that he's probably nearer the end than the beginning of his career. That is Ratinho. He will be 35 next week. Began his career in club football in Sao Paulo back in the early 90s and will retire after this game, having represented St. Gallen, Kaiserslautern, played in China and Kazakhstan, and for the last 2 seasons with Lucerne.
Will he have a pop?
Well, where does he come from, Jim?
He's got to. It's a bit wide, man.
Wait for a better opportunity. No, you're right. That was technically a pop.
Where does he come from?
Barnsley, I think. It's not one of the more glamorous Brazilian nicknames either, is it? Ratinho.
That's a little better than Fred, man.
Emerson Rodriguez, to give him his full name. Juninho. Robinho. Brazil seeking an 8th. Edmilson. Ratinho. Perhaps with the pace of the game.
He's a good player to have in your squad as well as the Edmilson, because he can play at centre-back or he can step up and play that anchor role in midfield. So often he's managed as well for Barcelona.
De Napoli. Ratinho. Sugar, just over the head of Patrick De Napoli.
I think Juan probably could have reacted a little quicker to deny him, but that's a great ball back from Chuga. Did really, really well to whip that back and deserved to have somebody on the end of it.
Patrick De Napoli nearly was. De Napoli, a player who performed in the Champions League some 10 years ago for Grasshoppers. Christian Gross was the manager there. This season, Christian Gross's Basel were denied the league title on the final day when FC Zurich came here and won. Both will go into the Champions League qualifiers for next season.
And in Roberto Carlos style, Gilberto is on the overlap, but watch this control from Robinho. He could just take it with the inside of his foot, but no, outside of the right foot. That was beautiful. That's the thing we've always loved about Brazil, watching him, the natural flair and flamboyance that accompanies with it.
It's easy to eulogise about them, and quite often one does so as much because of their history as their current performances, and frankly it's very difficult to read into this display tonight anything serious with regard to the upcoming World Cup. But what we can say is that it's been a useful workout, it's been a glorified training session, and through Juninho and Robinho latterly, they've scored a couple of out-of-the-ordinary goals. They tend to be Brazil's calling card. Adriano. Scored only one himself so far. Robinho. And guess who it was popping up?
That's incredible at this stage of the game. 83rd minute, he's making a run like that from the centre of defence. Outstanding run. And there he is getting back again.
The one area of the team for Brazil that's remained throughout the 90 minutes, the two centre-backs. Juan there, number 4, and also number 3, Lucio. A glimpse there of Gilberto Silva, another recently arrived substitute, the Arsenal man. That's nice. And Lucerne desperately trying to prevent goal number 8 going in the remaining 7 minutes or so. This is Ratinho. Remember, in one of only 2 previous World Cup warm-ups, Brazil did score 8 against the United Arab Emirates. They won 1-0 in Russia. This game, and then New Zealand to come on Sunday. Again, you can enjoy that with us here on ITV4. And then it's the World Cup proper. Ratinho. De Napoli. his left, and Di Napoli will challenge, but Dida was very smartly off his line and has taken a blow to the head for his troubles.
I think if so, it's completely accidental, because Di Napoli has jumped over him. Maybe the studs just caught the top of his head as he went underneath. That's good goalkeeping though, John, because he's had very little to concentrate on. Nothing really has come his way, and he's extremely alert to get to this, and perhaps the studs just clipped him as Di Napoli jumped over.
Dida is one of those that can't afford a high-profile mistake in the build-up to the World Cup, because he is under pressure for his place. With the territory, doesn't it, that Brazilian goalkeepers should be slightly eccentric without resorting too much to stereotypes, but if Taffarel throughout the 90s was hardly orthodox. So the worst error of Dida's career came at Elland Road in a Champions League game where he gifted a winning goal to Lee Bowyer with Milan. Here's Adriano, chance for his second and Brazil's 8th.
Well, you kind of know as soon as it's played to him that he just want to get it on that favoured left foot. And Lucerne defenders are obviously not alive to that yet. I mean, he's behind them again. They've been ball watching once more. That's happened several times tonight. He knows he's got enough time to come back inside on that left and just pick a spot. He's got all the time in the world to do it as well. It's easy. I mean, it's been a great training session for Brazil, and to knock in 8 like that is just it's lovely. Just keeps things ticking along. I think the build-up has gone very nicely. Thank you.
No injuries, plenty of goals, some nice moments. Adoration of the locals, and an 8-0 scoreline helps. Nielsen. Cicinho, long-term successor, they say, to Cafu. It means so much to Lucerne to register a goal of their own against the might of Brazil. Those of you that were with us here on ITV4 for Alan Shearer's testimonial 3 weeks ago will know that strange things can happen in the closing stages of friendly games, but I don't think anything's been choreographed quite to that degree. Edmilson.
Well, instinctively he's played it, ahead of himself, because he just thought Cicinho would be bombing on, Cafu-like, but just held his run a little. I mean, this was always going to be an exercise in cohesion, just getting everybody familiar with the way things are done again. Just take it on step it up another level. And they'll try to do that a little higher against New Zealand. And then obviously, once they play Croatia in the World Cup, their opening game, then there'll be a real intensity about it, a real focus.
Robinho. Off as an exercise, as you say, Jim, in cohesion. It's ended up as an exercise in mathematics. Running through the scorers, 2 apiece for Ronaldo and Adriano, and goals from Kaká, Juninho, Robinho and Lucio. Possibly more still to come.
Well, the only thing they haven't got out of tonight is a proper test, really, for their defence. I mean, they haven't been questioned at the back. Indeed, has been under little or no pressure.
Robinho. Cicinho, Edmilson. Do they have one last trick left up their collective sleeves? Will as ever be the hottest ticket at the World Cup finals. Croatia, Australia and Japan stand in their way in the group stage.
for a side to beat them in the World Cup, then they're going to have great belief about themselves, and they're really going to need to produce a fantastic performance on the day, and probably hope that Brazil...
Here's Adriano, chance for a hat-trick! Oh, what a good clearance on the line. That is an outstanding piece of defensive work from Nordin Sam to deny by a matter of inches Adriano a hat-trick.
Well, when he came on earlier in the second half, he made a mistake, but I think he's made up for it there, because I thought that was in from Adriano. You're right, I thought it was number 3 for him, and I think he does brilliantly to get back. That's wonderful defending.
I don't see a better goal line clearance than that in the World Cup itself.
Tremendous. And you know, great. I mean, he could give it up now. They're 8-0 down. He could have his head down a bit, but that's wonderful to see him carrying on like that to the end and still playing.
And that was the final act here in Basel. Plenty of entertainment, a bag full of Brazilian goals. The result never in doubt. A fitful performance, if truth be told, but it was really a glorified training session. Only the cones were missing, but it was witnessed by 33,000 supporters and many, many more around the world. Brazil warming up nicely, a night that Lucerne will never forget. Brazil 8, the Lucerne 11 0.